Ladies and gentlemen, today is a momentous occasion here in Jay's Geek House with the purchase of this little Mohawk blue accent rug. Great American rug, Walmart special, made in Georgia, therefore made in the USA. Woohoo! I've finally gotten to the point where I can retire these ratty-ass rugs left over from previous tenants. They're stiff and everything. Horrible. Faded, stiff, and as you can tell by that little dirt patch there that I now have to sweep up, a dirt magnet. By the way, in case you're wondering, the fat bike's upside down because I had to wipe it down with some WD-40 after riding it in the snow the other day to try and get the road salt off of all the gears. I gotta flip that back over and cover it back up. But not without doing a little bit of sweeping, of course, because these things obviously were tacky little dirt magnets. Yes, finally. Everything's turning blue in this place. As planned. Next objective. Do something about these curtains that don't quite make it to the bottom of the darn windows. The next size up will. Maybe next month, after I'm done buying whatever the heck I want to get for Christmas and stuff. Okay, now to the more serious documentation type stuff. Exactly how deep does this rabbit hole go with this whole smoke detector thing? So here's the dud that malfunctioned last week, and I looked it up. This is a Model SA300, and of course it's been chain smoked all the heck. Everything's yellowed and peeling off, things like that. So here's the SA300, right? Here's the SA300 with no connector for an interconnect here, and here's its descendant on Walmart.com. First and foremost, notice the difference. This is substantially more yellowed than that is. So, and I have everything white balanced, so white is white on the TV screen. Everything is white balanced based around our little Roll-O-Vision screen here. But among some of the new and improved features is that you can push the test button to silence the unit if it nuisance trips. But here's the problem. Look at that price. That is way too cheap to be a hardwired detector. I don't think that this was ever a detector that hooked into the interconnect. That's a concern, because as any fire marshal will tell you, the reason why you have a hardwired interconnect is that if one goes off, they all go off, especially in big multifamilies with multiple floors. Gives people more time to get out in case of fire. The way things work right now, if the unit in the cellar goes off, every smoke detector in the house will trip all at the same time, except for, of course, the one-off in the bedroom, which is probably the worst place to have a one-off. So here's the thing, though. This doesn't tell me explicitly that the landlord was a cheap-ass. It only tells me that the smoke detector is not up to snuff versus everything else that's interconnected. So, I think the maintenance guy can fix this pretty easily, actually. Otherwise, I will consider the last documentation vlog as the starting point for the 14-day period before this gets repair and deducted, because, yeah, I'm not going to put up with this, period. Cheap rental or not. I mean, this is the one and only unit in the entire house that has this problem. So, I mean, even the one in the cellar hooks up to the interconnect. So, it's just... And that's the thing with controversial stuff like this. You can't know for certain until you can actually be conclusive. You could say that the landlord's a cheap ass, but you don't have conclusive evidence of that. All we know is that the unit that was in the bedroom was not up to snuff to begin with, never mind the malfunction last week. So let's change up our white balance back to one push here in order to continue this discussion without everything looking all orange or yellow or something like that. There we go. Now, here's the one last note on this whole smoke detector fiasco before we can move on from here. Now, so if we don't know for certain that the landlord was a cheap ass here, what else could have happened? And this is where I'm entertaining some more speculation, which, mind you, is speculation, that maybe there was a really crafty chain-smoking tenant in here who may have yanked out or destroyed or whatever the ones that were actually up to code and put this in there so they could take the battery out when they wanted to smoke. I think there's a requirement in this state that if a landlord has to enter a unit, 24-hour notice, except in an emergency. So, yeah, I want to make sure your smoke detectors are working. Chain smoker would have been, oh, okay. And then hang up the phone, put the battery back in, beep, and stuff like that. As long as the person doing the checking didn't actually yank the thing out and see that it was never hardwired to begin with, they could get away with it. So I can imagine, especially at this price point of under $10, some really crafty chain smoker tenant picking one of these up and replacing the real detector with one of these so they can not have a battery in it so that the thing won't go off if they chain smoke the living hell out of the place. You know? I mean, when you're involved in, it doesn't even have to be real estate. If you're involved in a situation where you do a job that's very, very public-facing and you deal with a lot of people, yeah, never say never. If you can think of it, somebody out there is probably going to try to do it. Yeah, never say never when it comes to dealing with people. Anywho, enough rambling about this stuff for now. We have far more tech-related stuff and other related stuff to talk about here. Multimedia J out.